John Smith was going through the papers in his office. Everything was annoying. The weather outside, foul, slushy, and the profits, which this month were even less. He couldn't figure out what was wrong. His restaurant was almost in the center of the city. There are always a lot of visitors. They have been working for years. What's the matter? He opened the door. Amanda. Amanda was a young woman who had been acting manager for almost 3 months now. Acting, not being. She had gotten the position because she was his mistress. He had put her in that position for a purpose. Amanda was to be his ears and eyes, and the girl, though she was impenetrably stupid, was perfectly capable of fulfilling that role. He knew everything about his staff, who had an extra glass of tea and when, who breathed what, who wanted what. Sometimes Amanda would also eavesdrop on the conversations of customers he was interested in. It was always good to know things about wealthy people that others didn't know. Yes, John, you called for me? The girl moved closer to him and almost pressed herself against him, but he looked at her menacingly. One of the conditions of their liaison was that no one at work knew anything about anything. No one is to disperse after closing time today. There will be a meeting. Amanda flashed resentful eyes and replied, Okay, I'll pass it on. No, Amanda, I won't, but make sure everyone stays. The girl pouted her lips and walked gracefully into the hall. John Smith even licked his parched lips. Amanda's legs started near her ears, and her skirt ended about the same place. When the restaurant closed, the owner stepped out into the hall. So, I've gathered you today to understand, to find out the reason why profits are dropping. One of the waitresses, a young girl with the strange name Carmen, said, Why should be surprised? There were 7 returns from my tables alone today. The other waitresses also chimed in. I'm sick of it. You serve us whatever you want, and we have to listen to it. John looked at Amanda. She was standing a little apart and examining her fingernails with particular attention. Really wonder why the owner doesn't know anything about returns. He turned to the chef. Tom Johnson, what's the matter? The very imposing-looking man jumped up. What's the matter? That's what I wanted to ask you. How can minced patties that dogs won't eat be good? But chops? Have you ever heard of chops being made from frozen meat? Tom Johnson, you know very well how the price of groceries has gone up. In order to stay afloat and pay you all a paycheck, we have to find something cheaper. And it's the chef's job to make the best of what's available. What's going on here? Everyone was yelling, and the waiters and the cooks and even the cleaning lady was yelling that they had to carry floor cloths from home because John Smith didn't care about anything. He listened to all this for about 10 minutes. Finally, he got fed up. All right, so I'm bad at everything, but why? I guess because I turn a blind eye to what you do. Take Carmen, for example. Tell me, why do you take cutlets and other meat products out of restaurants? Do you know that this is a matter for the police? Me? I only take scraps and returns. You're going to throw it in the trash anyway, and I have a dog shelter near my house. They put it in their porridge. It doesn't matter, you're taking someone else's. Or Tom Johnson, just a few days ago, you fed some half-homeless people in my restaurant and for free. So where should the profits come from? You're all stealing from me. This month, I'm deducting from everyone for your mistakes, so don't whine in your paychecks. If things don't get better, I'll keep deducting. People spoke indignantly, but John Smith was already moving toward the exit. His chest was throbbing. He gave them a job, a paycheck, and they did this. He was so angry that he left without even waiting for Amanda. He only remembered her back home, but decided it was too late anyway. I'd have to buy her something tomorrow so she wouldn't sulk. John Smith had never married. In his 40s, he had no family or children. Except for the occasional Amanda. Yes, he had status and needed to go to receptions not alone, but with someone. The young, beautiful girls who accompanied him were always the envy of his business colleagues. John Smith poured himself some brandy, sat down in a chair. Here he is successful, not ugly. Everything is with him, but there is no happiness. He did not like such empty evenings, because all sorts of thoughts began to climb into his head. He'd been in love once, loved a beautiful girl, but the love of money won out. He just betrayed her. He did what no one ever does. She trusted him, loved him. The man shook his head. Something to do. He picked up his cell phone and dialed his old buddy who had a big hotel in this town. They agreed to meet at the nearest bar and have a good time there. Half an hour later, John was already ordering. 5 minutes later, Mike showed up. He didn't look his best. It had been a long time since they had seen each other, so John asked, "Mike, you look a little bruised. Are you sick or something?" He waved his hand. "I'm not sick. Estelle filed for divorce." John gasped. "How? She was in love with you. You were so in love." "Why was it? She is. I'm the idiot who ruined it. I got a new secretary, a pretty one. You know, like the cover of a magazine, sticky, but I couldn't resist. I thought just once, that's all. And this fool came onto my wife like, 'Let Mike go, we love each other.'" "No way." John looked at his friend. He wanted to say, how could you be such an asshole? They all knew his wife, the beautiful woman who had given Mike a son and a daughter. She was beautiful and smart and was also a wonderful hostess. They all loved going to his house because you couldn't get treats like this at any restaurant. The daughter studied at school, and with only A's. The son still went to kindergarten, but already had many diplomas in some kind of sport. There was love in the family, which attracted guests to their home. "Did you ask for forgiveness?" "Almost on my knees, but she won't even listen to me. And I can't press her or scare her with anything. She's got her own business. Well, what can I say? Let's hope for the best." "Thanks, man." They had a drink, then another. Mike sort of relaxed a little. "So what's up with you?" "Listen, I'm so sick of everything. The employees at the restaurant are getting all chatty. I give them a word, they give me 10. Profits are down. Amanda won't let me take a step." Mike looked at Jonna thoughtfully. "You should take a vacation. Go somewhere. With Amanda. Better alone, though." "I'd love to. But who do I trust with the restaurant? And in the state I'm in right now. Without a steady hand, they'll have me out of here in no time." "I think I can help you." John smiled. "With what? Will you take the helm yourself while I rest?" "I have some connections with someone. She's, how shall I tell you, kind of the person who gets everyone out of a crisis. She's got some cool education, and she can make the most unprofitable place profitable in a short time." "I don't believe that. People like that don't exist." "Yes, they do. She doesn't charge cheap, but the results are 100%. Look, that sounds promising. I'll tell you what. I'll give you the phone number, you make an appointment, and then when you tell me how she is, I'll tell you the rest." "What else is there?" "Well, I'd rather not talk about it now. Intriguing." John took the phone number, carefully writing down the name. It was Samantha, and promised to meet her tomorrow. He and Mike had a good time, and he went to apologize to his wife, and John went home to bed. The next day was so bad he closed the curtains in his office. He called Amanda in. She came in, stopping defiantly far away from him. "Well, Amanda, don't pout. It was urgent." Amanda was silent. "I've made an appointment. If everything works out today, I'll take you to the sea." Amanda gave him an incredulous look, then shrieked and rushed towards him. At that moment, there was a knock at the door. "That's it. Run along. It must be our savior." Amanda let the visitor in and slipped out of the office. The conversation was quick. The woman answered any questions instantly, and John became convinced that even he was far from her training. It seemed that she knew everything about business, but she was very strict and correct. Several times John thought that the woman's face was somehow vaguely familiar to him, but he had a headache and could not focus his eyes. He promised to call back, and the woman left. John noted her impeccable pantsuit, high heels, and perfect figure. He immediately dialed Mike's number. From the sound of his voice, he was even worse. "Mike, where did you find this miracle? I felt like a student in an exam." The man chuckled. "You're not the only one. Remember last year they wanted to take my hotel away from me. Samantha was the only one who helped." "Come on, that's a treasure trove. I've already booked a trip, by the way." "Wait, don't be in a hurry. What is it? Samantha? Well, she's been doing time, and she's done a lot of time. Anyway, she's an ex-con." John was at a loss for words. "What do you mean?" "Just like that. But I assure you, she'd raise any enterprise from the ruins. Of course, it's all completely unofficial. I trust her like I trust myself." John thought briefly. He didn't care how she went about re-educating his staff here. And if she could do it, he didn't care who she was in the past at all. John came out of the office. The crowd was sparse. He waved his hand, beckoning to the staff. Okay, as of tomorrow, Amanda and I are on vacation. You will be supervised by a new manager. You will do everything she says, and you better not disobey once. That lady has a very criminal record. He saw the looks of bewilderment on the staff's faces and cheered. Immediately, he called Samantha back and explained that she would be able to start tomorrow. He would leave all the necessary documents and papers on the desk in his office. Early in the morning, he and Amanda flew to a warm place. 3 weeks flew by like a day. John called Samantha from time to time. She'd report back. And he realized that if everything was as she said, things were really going well at his restaurant. No one else bothered him because he had taken a brand new SIM card for his vacation. In the evening, he called Samantha and warned her that he would be flying in tomorrow. Okay, John Smith, I'll be waiting for you. Yesterday, he proposed to Amanda. She happily accepted. She's silly, but she's beautiful. And she's hot in bed. What more could he want? At least he won't be alone. And the last night before his return, he dreamt of Eve. He hadn't dreamt about her in years, and now here she was. She was laughing and calling him somewhere. He followed her, smiling stupidly, and then he ran. Ava kept calling him, and then she disappeared. At the very edge of the cliff, he couldn't resist and flew down. Woke up to his own screaming. Amanda was asleep. He went out onto the balcony. Once many years ago, he and Ava had met at a large restaurant in a very large city. She was the manager, and he was hired as her assistant. Love between them had erupted at once, like fire, like an explosion. They dated for 3 months and decided to get married. But then came a great opportunity to make a big profit from the restaurant while the owner is on vacation. It wasn't supposed to be revealed, but somehow it was. He had 2 options: to return the money and lose his job or not to return it, but to start his own business and become successful. But Eva would have to answer for the money, so he chose the latter. He had no idea what happened next. He went abroad, studied restaurant business for a year, and when he came back, he changed his name and opened his own restaurant. John and Amanda got out of the cab, glistening with tan. Strangely, the parking lot outside the restaurant was completely empty. Even silly Amanda realized something was wrong. John's heart gave a sickening tingle. He took a quick step toward the restaurant. It was empty inside. In the middle of the room, Samantha sat at a table. She sipped wine from a glass and grinned at him. "Hello, Kevin." He jerked as if from a blow, and Samantha took off her glasses. John went cold. "Ava? Did you really recognize me? I thought I was going to have to introduce myself." "Well, come in, don't be shy, maybe some wine." "What's going on? Where is everybody? Where are the customers?" "There are no customers because there's no one to feed them. I've gone to great lengths to find each of your employees a good place to work." "You're crazy. You're going to answer me." "Well, what am I doing? I am answering back. All the 6 years I spent behind bars, that's all I did." Visualize this very moment. John slumped back in his chair. Amanda looked at Samantha in horror. The latter motioned John over to a stack of papers. "Here, darling, this is a gift from me to you. You can consider it a reply. It's the invoices for the forfeit. Your restaurant undertook to organize 2 weddings for very influential people of this city, but failed. As you can imagine, you've been sentenced to a lot of money. This is the decision to shut down your restaurant as unsanitary. This is from the fire department. Well, you'll have to read it for yourself. You'll have plenty of time now, almost as much time as I had in my day." Samantha stood up, headed for the exit, stopped beside Amanda. "Run along, girl. When that man has no money, he can betray anyone, even those closest to him." Samantha stepped outside and took a deep breath. If you liked the story, please support me with a thumbs up button. And to learn about the release of new interesting stories, when you subscribe, click the bell. All the best to you.